I really just don't like cowboys. Hi, my name's Rachel, and today we're talking about Knotted by Pam Godwin, which is allegedly a small town, dark cowboy romance, which, as you may have guessed, is very not my thing. I'm not a fan of cowboys. And this is about two people who, in their youth, were together, and then something horrible happens, and then they were not together. And then through a string of crimes, they get back together. Crimes committed by the hero, I would like to add. They get back together, and a lot of horrible stuff happens before, after, during. I want to make so clear that I don't think that this book is a romance. I think that this book is psychological torture. Horror, maybe. What it really is a bunch of crimes. Crimes against humanity. Crimes against my ear holes, certainly. I listened to the book. I listened to the audio, and when I tell you I suffered. This was so violently bad, and I am appalled. And the fault lies certainly with Pam Godwin, but also slightly thanks to my patron Harley, who requested this review of this abomination. So Knotted is about a guy named Jake and his girlfriend Connor. And in the beginning, they are 16 and 17 years old, and Connor is brutally assaulted. Then he proceeds to manipulate the crap out of her and give her therapy that he makes up himself because he's such a good guy. Y'all, if a man is doing a bunch of crimes and then saying, oh, I'm gonna give you therapy, but you don't need to get real therapy because I can't let you out of my sight, and saying that he's doing all of this for your safety, he doesn't actually care about your safety. But if you care about your own safety and that of your families while browsing the web, you're in luck because you can enjoy a Black Friday price cut now from Atlas VPN Premium. They're running a deal that is $1.70 a month plus 6 months extra with a 30-day money-back guarantee. With a VPN, you get to protect your privacy, and with Atlas, you get their many benefits for a very low price. This is a limited time offer, so you can get it by clicking the link down below. Atlas is more than just a VPN. It blocks all of those malicious links and malware, ads and trackers, and it tells you when someone is trying to steal your data. If you're worried about your Google searches, you're looking things up on Google, with Atlas you can search the web, get organic search results, and do it without anyone tracking your activity. And if you're concerned that you have to pay for each device, you do not. They protect unlimited devices. With Atlas VPN, you can cover your phone and your tablet and your laptop and your kid's tablet all under one single subscription. And also, the holidays are coming up, and if you're worried about savings with online shopping, Atlas can help you get the best deals while shopping online, including your online subscriptions, so like Spotify and Netflix, but also hotels and airlines in case you're traveling. You can also unlock content from across the world. Some things are region locked, like on Netflix. You might not be able to access things like Friends, especially if you are abroad. That's not a problem. Atlas VPN has you covered. You tell the VPN, oh, I'm actually in Germany now, and suddenly you get more options that you otherwise would not have due to it being region locked. So you can get all of this and enjoy the most affordable online protection for just $1.70 a month plus 6 months extra with a 30-day money-back guarantee by clicking that link below. And thank you to Atlas for sponsoring today's video. Alright, so back to Jake, our alleged hero. Before I tell you what happens in this book, let me give you the synopsis from the author. Let me tell you what the author says this book is about, and then I'll tell you what really happens. I try to forget her. It's impossible. Growing up together, Connor and I shared all our firsts. First love, first kiss, first ... Shut up. Not all our firsts. We were 16 the night she was violently assaulted while I helplessly watched, and I'll never forget the sounds of her suffering or my inconsolable agony when she left Oklahoma. Years later, she returns to honor our teenage pact. Yeah, the pact is not described in the description, by the way. I will get to that. It's not a sex pact. I know it kind of sounds like it was a sex pact. Not a sex pact. Except the boy she loved is gone, replaced by a ruthless cattle rancher. I'm sorry. It's just those two things sound so ridiculous next to each other. Knotted with secrets. Are you kidding? I'm trying to... Knotted with secrets. She doesn't know my dark cravings or the trails of sin that lead to her. The trails of sin. So we're just slapping the series name into the synopsis without really making... Okay, sure. I don't deserve her, but one truth remains. She's mine! Oh my god, if one more man says this, I swear to, I'm going to set things on fire. Trails of Sin series, in parentheses, happily ever afters with no cliffhangers must be read in order. Happily ever afters for whom? Certainly not I. 1, knotted. 2, buckled. 3, booted. I'm gonna boot myself into a next dimension so I don't have to read this shit. All right, we start out and we are on a horse with two teenagers, Connor and Jake. Connor, I know that Connor is typically a masculine name, but that is our woman protagonist. Jake and Connor, okay? I will put up, I don't know, people here so that we have an idea of who's who. I know that's helpful for many of us visual learners, yeah? I'll try to find some people with some nice cowboy hats to really keep the theme going. They're about to save a horse and ride a cowboy, if you know what I mean, because this book just really puts the cunt in country. I stole that joke from Natalie, who I complained about this book in very loud and very long voice messages. Thank you, Natalie, for listening to my suffering. So we're being told the dynamic. 4 teenagers are living in a house together because their dads mutually own this cattle ranch. There's 2 siblings each. 4 kids, 2 siblings each. A girl named Connor and her brother Lorne, and a boy named Jake and his brother, who I forget the name of, it's a J name. We're just gonna call him Jimmy, okay? Jake, our hero, being such a sweetheart, is saying how much he wants to fuck his girlfriend, Connor. And apparently everyone knows this in this foursome, and every line of the beginning is so horrible I wanted to be dead. Their dads, though, don't want them to be together, so this foursome is keeping that twosome a secret, okay? This entire first chapter, I shit you not, is him explaining how he's been waiting for her to turn 16 so he can fuck her. Listen, I was a teenager having sex at 16. Listen, I know that teenagers do it, but I just don't want to read about it in a titillating way. Like, I don't want to read about it in a way that's supposed to, like, excite an adult reader. That's fucking weird. And that's what I feel like it was, and I'm uncomfortable. Because, like, I can understand, like, reading books like, oh, what's a book that has teenagers having sex in it? Okay, Sawkill Girls by Claire Legrand, which is somewhere over, it's somewhere. Sawkill Girls by Claire Legrand contains a sapphic relationship, and the 2 of them do eventually have sex. And I feel like that is an appropriate way to write teenagers having sex because it's written in a way that it is not meant to be titillating to adults or even teenagers themselves. It's a really normal, typical way expressing more of the feelings that they're having for each other rather than like body parts and trying to excite the reader. There's a line, and this is crossing it. Now, this is an adult book, but even so, there was really no reason not to age these people up, so I wouldn't have to read about how much this 17-year-old boy wants to tie down his 16-year-old girlfriend and violently fuck her. So, yikes. And his brother, or her brother rather, Lorne, is instead of, you know, not having a conversation about his sister having sex, which is what I would prefer, I certainly wouldn't want my brother talking about me having sex. That's just not a conversation that me and my siblings have ever. He says, don't get her pregnant, which, you know, I just don't appreciate the paternalism from all of the men in this, but certainly not like 17-year-olds being paternalistic over a 16-year-old girl who is also wanting to have sex with her boyfriend who wants to violently have sex with her. And he says to her, if I was a good guy, I'd tell you we can wait. But he says, no more waiting, period, which is rapey, which is concerning considering she is in fact about to be raped by other people. I'm gonna go ahead and issue a trigger warning because that's coming up, so like I'll let you know when I'm gonna actually explain what happens, but just sort of like pre-forewarn you, yeah? Okay, so he's describing the fact that he has gotten really into BDSM, rope play, and just like honestly not even just BDSM but like violent sex, like hardcore porn. And he says about her, I won't hurt her our first time. This is a 17-year-old. I just want to make that so clear. I won't hurt her our first time, but someday, what? You haven't even had a conversation with her about this, and you're 17. Okay, someday she'll tremble beneath me. Okay, help. My guy, you are 17 years old. Please lay off the hardcore porn. All right, so this is actually the part where I'm going to issue a severe trigger warning for this book. I'm going to list trigger warnings real quick. This is a book that contains sex with rope play, murder, a very manipulative relationship, non-con, bad medical advice, yeah, alcoholism, ableism towards mental health issues, physical abuse, abuse from a parent, both verbal and physical. But the thing is that it contains a concerning sickening amount of sexual assault, extremely violent sexual assault of a 16-year-old, and there is no warning for this in the beginning to warn readers about how brutal it is. It is bad. So before they're about to have sex, they go off to a different part of this ravine on the land that their dads own. They're talking about each other, and she's like, he apparently does not have female friends. He calls them. He doesn't have female friendship. She doesn't have female friendships. I've never seen her with paint on her nails or cakey goop on her face. Cakey goop? Sir, this is art. Okay. Sorry that I don't like rope cattle and shit. Sorry that I like wear makeup. Why did Pam, why did you do that? Like, why did you write 17-year-old boys doing toxic masculinity as a minor? Are you serious? Why? And then he says, I'm besotted with her and I don't care if that makes me pussy whipped. Pussy whipped? Pam, this is a 17-year-old boy you're writing about. Please stop. Again, I'm about to issue the last trigger warning for the sexual assault, okay? So he ties her to a tree. He says he wants to tie her up, and he ties her to a tree so that they can have sex for the first time. Now, later in the book, it does mention that they have fooled around a little bit. They have just not had any sort of penetrative sex, which again, I hate that we talk about sex as if penetrative sex is the end-all be-all, but I'm not gonna go on a rant about that today. He ties her to a tree. They're about to have sex for the first time. He's got like a raging boner and she's tied up and she's like really into it when both of their brothers walk up being held hostage by some gunmen, and Jake can't untie Connor in time because he's really good at tying knots. Damn his excellent knot tying abilities from being a 17-year-old cattle rancher. So she's tied to a tree and he's taken hostage and tied up by these gunmen along with the other two 17-year-old boys. She's tied to a tree, so she is repeatedly sexually assaulted by these gunmen, and Jake and the brothers have to watch while they are tied up. And this was really violent and really gross. She is raped vaginally and anally. It's really, really disturbing. And it's certainly not saying these things are a good thing. It's just the way that this was written desperately needed very specific trigger warnings. It was pretty rough. I've talked a little bit about how I experienced assault as a 17-year-old, and this was rough for me to read for that reason. So woof. I didn't cry, but it did not sit well in my chest. Okay, they finally get free. I think they kill two of the gunmen. One of the dudes who assaulted Connor gets killed. The other one gets arrested and put in prison for like 5 years. Connor's brother, Lorne, since he killed one of the gunmen, he gets put in prison for manslaughter. And they all decided to do a blood pact. They all cut their hands and vowed to each other that when the other guy who assaulted her gets out of prison, they're going to kill him. They make a blood pact. Okay. Then after this happens, Lorne, the brother, is in prison. Connor's dad all of a sudden is like, we're leaving. I sold my shares of the ranch, and moves them to the city of Chicago. She's a little bit of a country fish out of water. It explicitly says that the song that's playing when this is happening, like the theme of this, is What Hurts the Most by Rascal Flatts. Help me. Now, none of them will talk to her. She emails, she writes letters, she tries to call, but the phones are all changed numbers. Her dad turns into a mean drunk. She never hears from her brother. She's not allowed to go visit her brother. She's all alone for 2 years, no contact with her brother, Jake, her boyfriend, or Jimmy, whatever his name is, the boyfriend's brother. The irrelevant brother, Jimmy. 2 years later, she is 18 years old, and she turns down a full ride to Indiana University because she wants to go home to Oklahoma, because I guess Jake just really puts the home in Oklahoma, also puts the hoe in Oklahoma, which I will get to in a second. Her dad has become a mean and violent drunk, and he beats her often, and on her 18th birthday she nopes the fuck out of there and rides her motorcycle back to Oklahoma and back to the ranch that is home to her. This book has a lot of, this is the song that I was listening to now, very much like Lainey Saram's book, Handbook for Mortals, is like telling you exactly what song is playing to like tell you how you're supposed to feel in that moment. Lainey Saram writes out the entire lyrics. Thankfully, Pam Godwin did not do that. And what's the song that's playing as she's riding her motorcycle back to Oklahoma? Lady Antebellum's Need You Now. I'm all alone and I need you now. Cool. go. So she had emailed Jake to let him know that she was coming, but he literally has not emailed her back, answered anything, not an email, not a letter, in 2 years. So she finally gets to the ranch. She drove her motorcycle all the way from Indiana, Chicago, Illinois, sorry, all these I names, in these states that I've never lived in, sorry. She gets there and she can hear another song, a Kings of Leon song playing. I don't remember which one it is, doesn't matter. I'm tired of this already. And she gets to the ranch, she waltzes into his bedroom where she can hear him singing this Kings of Leon song, yeah? He has a bed sheet tied around his waist and a naked girl's in his bed, and it just so happened to be one of the girls that back in high school she said, "Oh, these girls want to fuck you," and that's why she didn't have any girlfriends, because all of the girls wanted to fuck Jake. Super. We love misogyny. He tells her, "Yeah, I moved on and your horse Ketchup died." No, I'm not joking, that's the horse's name. "And you should leave." But it's all a farce because he's just trying to keep her safe. So she also finds out that her dad died, which is very convenient. So she leaves. She's like, okay, then there's nothing left for me here. Jake doesn't want me. Lauren's in prison. She goes to visit Lauren and Lauren's like, yeah, you probably shouldn't, like, I miss you and stuff, but like you shouldn't come around here. So it's obvious they're keeping something from her. To the reader, not obvious to Connor. She just thinks that she's been abandoned by everybody. So she fucks off to college. She wants to go for veterinary medicine. She's going. She's living about an hour from the ranch. She gets absolutely covered in tattoos because she is not like other cowgirls. She even goes to a barn party one night in a scene that was odd. She goes to a barn party and she decides, you know what, I want to, for the first time, have consensual sex with somebody. So she goes to a barn party. It says it's dark. There's some random dude who smells like cigarettes. And then right after they have this barn party sex where she does not orgasm, he immediately bails. And she's like, oh shit, I should go after him. So she's like getting her clothes on and she like goes after him, but he's already gone. Okay. And the next relationship is with her professor who has a thing for students, and he's like obviously cheating on her. And it's worth mentioning that Connor is a rape survivor and she sometimes goes on the internet to watch rape porn. Her professor boyfriend catches her watching this violent rape porn and is horrified, which is setting us up to know that he can't handle her trauma and how her trauma presents itself. But you know who can? Jake. Oh. So she goes home because the guy who assaulted her is about to get out of prison. And remember, they made that definitely legally binding blood pact. So she first heads to a bar where there is a gaggle of women talking about how they have all fucked Jake. He's the best at sex. He's the sex god, and he gives them like 18 orgasms in the back of his truck. He never fucks them in his bed though, because that's reserved for Connor. So she turns to them. She's like, I know y'all are doing this on purpose because I'm here. I don't care. I don't want to fuck Jake. Chill out. I have a boyfriend. And he is right behind her, of course, because this is all the depth of a fucking Disney movie. He and Jimmy, the brother, go to her hotel room and they're like, hey, you have to come back to the ranch where we can keep you safe because there's other stuff going on that we've never told you about, but now that he's about to get out of prison, we can finally talk to you about it. Okay. Better the devil you know, right? I guess. Sure. So she says no. And because they're reasonable adults who understand agency and autonomy and consent, they say, sure thing, you're allowed your boundaries. Just kidding. They kidnap her. So fun. Now Jake reveals to her, listen, I have always been planning on us being together. Always. Yes, I've been fucking other women while you've been gone. Sue me. I've been fucking everybody. I put the hoe in Oklahoma. But there's some stuff going on and I've done all of this, including fucking other women. Just kidding. I did that on my own to keep you safe. The safest place for you now is literally tied up at my house where I can force my version of therapy on you because I think you're traumatized and I can fix you. And then we will kill the guy who assaulted you when he gets out and I'll fix you and we'll be together forever. Aww. He has Googled therapy triggers PTSD and has decided that he has come up with the best plan to fix Connor because she's traumatized. But he can fix her. Why does he want to fix her? So he can fuck her. Great. Which honestly, I do know a lot of men who Googled therapy one time and decided they were experts, but unlike Connor, I didn't marry one. So what's his form of therapy look like? Well, he brings her back to the ranch and he has her stand on a rickety stump surrounded by poison ivy, answering questions. that she doesn't want to answer. He says, if you answer my questions, then I'll answer some of yours. He thinks about how much he basically wants to be her version of Christian Grey, which as a therapy patient, I gotta say, this is not instilling much confidence in his abilities, because, you know, typically your therapist asks you what your goals are, and then you guys make a plan together to meet them. That never happened, so that was a little concerning. And you know, it would be maybe less bad if she had actually gone to therapy, if he had ever encouraged her to go to therapy, if he had encouraged her, let's see a psychiatrist and see about maybe having a discussion about medication. No, he says that she shouldn't take medication. We'll get there. While she's on this stump, Professor Boyfriend calls her and he's like, you need to break up with him. And she's like, I don't have to do what you tell me to do. Which, you know what? That was the only time that I thought Connor was a reasonable main character. Then he calls her Professor Boyfriend and tells him, well, texts him, has him come down to Oklahoma, to the ranch, and makes her break up with him. Yeah? And he says, all right, now that he's gone, I'm gonna give you a minute to be single, and then you're not single anymore. I'm not joking. And then they make out. Aww. Back at the ranch, she asks him, so how did you and when did you lose your virginity since you've been fucking all of Oklahoma? He's like, oh, all right, well, if we're gonna talk about this, we'll have to go inside. So he takes her to his room, and she's like, I actually want to be alone. And he's like, no, I'm sleeping in the same room as you. So at no point is he giving her any agency. And then the reveal happens, which I had a sneaking suspicion was coming. He was the guy at the barn party that she lost her virginity to. And she's horrified because he's telling this to her as if it's not her. He's saying, well, there was this girl at a barn party and he knows it was her. And now she knows. But he's still saying it in a way as if it was another woman. It's so fucking creepy. He's like, yep, I took her hard against a wall and to this day I still regret she didn't orgasm. Sir, you are traumatizing her. Please stop. That wasn't consent. That wasn't consent because she didn't have the full understanding of what was happening to her. She's like, this doesn't make sense. I would have known your smell. He's like, yeah, I smoked cigarettes so that you wouldn't know it was me. I put on a wig. He put on a wig. He wore a wig to lie to her so he could fuck her. He's a literal fucking villain. And then he explains, yeah, I fucked most of Oklahoma. I fucked women like I hated them. Sir, you do hate women. You do. Including the one you want to fuck now. And he's like, we're gonna be together. You can't be with anybody else. I will do jealous things to sabotage your chances with other men. No shit. You misled her into fucking you and stalked her. Okay. And they do fuck. And she says, he has a devastating effect on the ovaries. Bitch, is he a cyst? What do you mean? He tells her, you have PTSD, Connor. Okay, get her a therapist. Why do you think that you're qualified? What, because you can tie some knots and like wrangle some cows? You think that you're a qualified therapist? Hello? So she's upset, understandably. And what's the song for the theme at this time? Not Ready to Make Nice by the Dixie Chicks. So he's continuing to perform this therapy that he makes up. He's tying her to things and making her expose her deepest, darkest feelings about like the rape porn and all of this stuff. And he says at one point, I've been too soft on you. Okay. Your arms aren't off limits anymore. I get to touch them and bind them. Jail. Jail. You can take the place of her assaulter and go straight to jail. She's actively telling him that anal is a hard no, and it was a hard no for the professor boyfriend, and her professor boyfriend made fun of her for that when they broke up, and he's like, well, at least the other students I fuck let me do it in any position. Like basically setting it up so like he's the bad guy and Jake is so nice and understanding even though he's a literal villain. Okay, so he is actively putting fingers in her when she says anal is a hard no. So if that's not rape, then I'm a asparagus. But this is her therapy according to him, even though she's saying no. And we don't actually ever go over the plan they have to kill a man who assaulted her. We're just doing therapy. And he only gives out information on why he tossed her aside like a bag of trash if she does his version of therapy. He eventually tells her that he kicked out his own dad, or maybe killed him, or both, I don't know, because Pam decided to write this weird convoluted plot where the ranch belonged to Connor's mom and Connor's mom left it to Connor specifically. And then Jake's own dad apparently hired men to kill Connor so she couldn't get the land when she turned 18. Why they couldn't just like marry each other and then keep it in the family is beyond me, but okay. So Jake and Jimmy have been killing whoever was involved in that and then blackmailing the sheriff who was also involved. This takes such a backseat, as I've said before in other books. It's practically in a different car. Then comes the worst line that I have ever read in a sex scene. He tells her it's time to talk about the assault because she has talked about everything except what happened to her specifically. And she says, I can't talk about. She grips the back of the sink, trembling and wheezing. Not the ravine, I can't do this. He says, you can and you won't be alone. Her nails scratch against the counter, her breaths loud and fitful. I can't have sex from behind, she says. He says, every position, Connor. Translation, he's telling her, yes, you will. I don't care about your trauma. We are going to do anal whether you like it or not. A shuddering sob escapes her lips. I think maybe, she gulps for air, there's medicine I can take for the anxiety. That would be better. And I agree. Unfortunately, Jake does not. Medication is addictive and unnecessary. Jail, Pam, straight to jail. Jail, Pam, you're going to jail. Lift your arms. She crosses them, hugging her waist. I step back just enough to let my hand fly. The hard smack on her ass sends her up on her toes. Her hands drop to the counter and she releases a half cry, half moan. Arms up, I spank her again. I'd love to spank all night, reddening your ass. A deep, reluctant groan sounds in the back of her throat, pulsing a surge of blood to my cock. She loves when I spank her, so much so she'll risk a panic attack just to feel the bite of my palm. Jail, jail, straight to jail. So they were having sex after that because apparently that's a totally normal and healthy thing to do in a relationship. They're having sex to the song Meant to Be by BB Rexa. This is a less offensive charge, but jail nonetheless. The guy who assaulted her gets released and he gets released and is just allowed to fuck off to wherever. Which is, I don't know if Oklahoma is somehow doing things very differently, but I'm pretty sure they're not because I think that sex offenders are a federal thing because typically they go to federal prison. I'm pretty sure that they don't just release you. I'm pretty sure that what they do is they release you to a halfway house and then you have to register with the halfway house, you have a curfew, and then eventually they let you like go free. But you still have to check in with your parole officer, you have to do like regular drug tests, you can't just like fuck off to wherever. You have to have a resident address after you leave the halfway house. Like this is not how things work. But her offender is allowed to just fuck off to wherever. Apparently they just open the gates of jail and say, be gone, sex offender who raped a minor. Shoo, toodaloo. I don't think so. So in this book, he's just released and he goes to a shack that the brothers know about because that's where the guys who were hired to kill Connor stashed the money that they were paid by Jake's dad. And they like took care of the money and they got like they unloaded all of the guns that the bad guys had left at this shack in the woods. And their plan is to have Connor there and him walk in and talk to Connor and then they attack him. I don't know why any of this was necessary, but they do. And he's like, I'm gonna rape you again. And then he reaches for the gun. It's unloaded because they've already been there. How he didn't assume already that the gun would be unloaded if she's already there. How would she even know about this place? Like Pam has lost her own plot. Again, I'm just shocked that like his parole officer was like, sure, you can go to some shack in the woods. Sounds good. We won't even inspect the place. Please. He tries to assault Connor again. They attack him and then they tie him up and bury him alive. So, okay. And in the end, the song that is playing, according to Connor, is Breathe by Faith Hill. Which is telling us that she's cured. She's good. She feels so much better. Now that she has been forced into bad sex therapy by her manipulative asshole boyfriend and they've murdered a guy, cured. She's fine now. She's good to go. At the end, the brother, irrelevant brother Jimmy, had met a reporter who was asking too many questions about what's going on because again, Jake and Jimmy have been killing people and burying bodies. Not just the aforementioned sex offender, but others too. Jake walks into Jimmy, whipping this reporter, asks, is this consensual? And I'm like, you care about consensual sex now? That's weird. That seems unlike you, Jake. And the answer is no, not really. It's not. Now, a normal person would say, yikes, Pam, yikes. But old Pammy, she said, let me make this into a romance too. And that's book 2. Awesome. Cool beans. So that was Knotted by Pam Godwin. Did we have a super fun time? I know I didn't. This is not romance. Sometimes I get dark romance, but sometimes it just goes too fucking far. And this went too fucking far for me. There's already too much mental health stigma, and we don't need more of it in books. And I know it's fiction. Yeah, but when we are perpetuating bad things that we're doing in real life, the line is blurry. And now we have just done harm in fiction that exists in the real world. So I don't know what to tell you. That's shitty. Okay, that was Knotted by Pam Godwin. Jail. That's all I have to say. Jail. Everybody jail. Okay, leave your thoughts and comments down below if you want to. Like and subscribe if you want to. I don't even know what to say. I really just don't like cowboys. Okay, I'm gonna go now. Thank you so much. Bye! And before I go, I have to say thank you for being a friend to my Therapy Builds patrons, and those are Alexander, Allie Magpie, Amba Hextress, Brittany Bobitney, Cami, Chris, Claire, Des Roberts, Chris, DJ Rocktopus, Ellie, Emperor's New Blues, Aaron, Eric, Harley, Jack and Jill, John E, Kaleno K, Casey McKenzie, Kate W, Caitlin, Quinn, Lady Kittybug, Lex, Alice, Peggy, Rain, Reese, SJ, Samar, Scarlett, Shiny, and SMK. Sorry about my washing machine in the background. Okay, thank you all so much for being a friend. And before I go, I have to say thank you for being a friend to my Potato Starch Marxist patrons, and those are AM Angel, Amanda, Andy, Angelica, Anita, Artie the Ninth, Ashley H, Ava, Ballads and Bookends, BB, Beck Blythe, Bookish Brainrot, Brando Sandoz Marxist Alter Ego, Bree, Caitlin, Cardinal Ginger, Carlin, Cassandra, Catherine, Kathy, Chris, CJ, Cole, Colleen, Corwin, Corey, Darren, Deborah, Dex, Diet Goth, Dorian, Ebby, Ember, Emily A, Emily L, Emma, Aaron, Ezra, Hannah C, Hannah T, Harpy Kuro, Haley G, Ilianaka, India Inks, JM Tennant, Jay is on Olympus, JT, Jen Michelle, Jenny G, Jess Burler, Jessa Sue, Jillian, Jojo Bookish, Jess Pugsley, Kaylee, Kat, Catherine, Katie, Katya, Kayala, Kendra, Kylie, Laughing Cat Dog, Laura, Lazarus Ray, Library of Scars, Lisa B, LP, Lou Siri, Lustful Octopus, Martin, Madison, Marcella, Marquita, Melara, MK Books, Molly, James, Nat, Natalie, Never, Nicole G, Nicole R, Nyan Binary, Paige P, Penny Tilling, Foxglow, Pixel Stars, Pure Raytheon, Rachel B, Rat Sarah, Reba, Rebecca, Robin, Rosie, Rowan, Secoria, Sadie, Samantha, Sarah C, Sarah H, Sarah the Bear, Shamed, Shannon, Sheen, Onion, Sheen Onion. It's like 8:30 in the morning, and for some reason it's just cracking me up. Sheen Onion, Sheena K, Sean, Talia, 3 Old Dogs, Tiana, Tina, Toast, Trashcan Teddy, Tito Phoenix, Wildcat, and Writer A. Thank you all so much for being a friend.